Why businesses fail. So, friends, this is one of the central themes of our consulting practice. When we work with our clients, with the companies of all sizes, and we try to put them on the right path for ultimate growth, for hyper growth, we really must try to understand what happens to other companies, why they fail to reach their objectives, what happens to them, what are some of the factors. So we could try to understand them and hopefully try to find the workaround so we don't fall victim to the same challenges that these companies had. So let's go ahead and hear a few just at a very high level. Given the depth and breadth of this topic, we would love to make some resources available for you. Please follow the links below so you can get a lot more insight. And clearly, this is one of those areas where the more you know, the more benefits you would have. So these are some of the three of the top reasons. There are more than 25 that we've been able to identify. In fact, we are working on a book, hopefully to be published in the later half of this year, just to try to document the reasons that companies have, and obviously, if you look at, for example, lack of vision, that's one of the reasons. There's a whole science behind it. The companies owners, they not only must have the right vision, but the vision has to be fully congruent with the marketplace. They must it must be designed for growth. The vision cannot be based on the vision you had 20 years ago. Obviously, it needs to continue to evolve. Um, and then the vision has to be to be translated across up and down the entire management chain. The whole organization must be sharing the same vision. Similarly, lack of finance is obviously very easy for us to understand. If you don't have the funds to manage your growth, to support your growth, to acquire the tools that you need to improve your operation, then you are at a disadvantage, right? And again, there'd be a lot more examples forthcoming in the next few slides. Lack of preparedness. This is huge. Lack of preparedness to face what might happen next. Throughout this presentation, we have focused on one of the other core competencies that we've developed over a period of time, which is crisis management. In a nutshell, it's to enable a company to be ready the moment something untoward happens, something unexpected happens, and they would know exactly what to do and how to do it. Which means not just the vision to develop the vision or the insight to see that something is off and something bad could happen, but then to have the management team in place and the players in place, and to give them the power to go ahead and take the decisions based on whatever they deem at the time to be the right steps. Clearly, if you think of a crisis, we don't have all the facts. We don't know even at times what's truly happening. So we really must try to understand what it is, and based on a few pixels here and there, the image that we're trying to create, we might have to start acting upon those. And then once more facts start coming in, if we need to do course correction, and invariably, then we must be willing to do that. But if a company is not prepared to face what might happen, it simply means that they are really focused on the happy path. All the training, all the documentation focuses on what they expect for things to happen. That could be a large majority of the time, but the rare minority of the time when something bad happens, what we see on the left hand side is what ultimately results in the store is permanently closed. And far too often, as you drive around the neighborhoods, you would find these signs all over the place. Again, a harsh and unfortunate reality. So let's keep going. Let's see what are the other factors that we could learn. What's the one thing as one central theme that you will come across in the next couple of slides? That businesses fail and the ultimate responsibility lies with the owners and partners and the executive team. Owners and partners to define the roadmap, to set the goals, to set the vision, and then the executive team for the failure in executing on the vision. The details, let's keep going. So, these are some of the factors that we would like to identify here. So these are not specifics, these are more like categories, broad categories, and then within each of them there would be multiple factors. So let's take these 10 categories of reasons, broad categorization, broad grouping of reasons why companies fail. So let's start off on top. Product design and roadmap. Your product is not, and again, here in this case, we'll just throw out some of the common top points of failure that companies obviously have reported over the years, and we've documented them. So again, if you feel that it might apply to you in some shape or form, it's really up to you to figure out what would it take for you to come up with a strategy now to really prevent that from happening in your case. So let's see what they are. Product design, so flawed design, a design that's not compatible with the other features of your offering, a design that is it's not intuitive. It requires a very high learning curve. A design that's not compatible with what's available in the marketplace. You can well see this could be a huge list in itself. That you're not just your product design is flawed. You're not even aware of what the challenges and what the flaws are, and how your customers might be struggling in utilizing the product. What about the product roadmap? We have established the need for an MVP, minimally viable product, when you're starting off your company. But clearly, you cannot stay at that minimal level forever. You need to keep growing, you need to keep expanding, and you need to start working on this roadmap that you must establish. So, what is the roadmap? Do you have a clear strategy on where you intend to go, and over a period of time, how your product competes well, better and better against the other products which are available in the marketplace? So clearly, product design, a lot of thought must go into it, because at the ultimate level, product is your core competence. Whether it's product or your service, that's really what you do. That's really why someone is coming to you. So if this is not designed well, if this is not designed extremely well, then you are putting yourself at a disadvantage. Let's keep going. Ineffective marketing. So you might have the best product, you might have the best service, it might have be the best integrated product out there, but if you're not effective in sending the message across, so your end users, the consumers, don't even get to know about what the product is, or how well it functions, or how well it competes in specific use cases, then again you're setting yourself back. You need to have an effective branding and marketing messages. You need to People must try to understand, they must try to associate your product with whatever it does, and your company with whatever your product does. And if they don't have this mental association, then you don't have someone you're able to rely upon. Again, your marketing messages is falling short. And then closely tied to this would be the next point, which is lack of customer adoption. For any reason, for the reasons mentioned above and for the reasons which we have not yet talked about, your customers are somehow not getting to your product. They're using it, maybe they're lukewarm about it, maybe so for some reason they're not excited, they're not exuberant about your product, and your adoption rates are not as high as they could have been, or as you wanted them to be. What are the reasons? So again, if you have the right matrix in place, so you're able to first identify that yes, this is truly indeed what was happening. But once you've been able to establish that, then the next thing obviously will be to figure out what the root causes are, and apply some course correction so you can start improving on your customer adoption rate. How's the competition in the marketplace? Maybe there was a time when your product was leading the market space, and then you had customers, you had revenue, maybe you got complacent. Maybe you allowed other companies to come in and take over some of your market share. Maybe they came up with a more exciting, more jazzier product out there, and they stole your share of the market space. It clearly happens all the time. We keep hearing about the term disruption. That disruption clearly is when you are so comfortable in what you are doing that you're entirely focusing on your operation, and not quite on who's chasing you, who's coming at your heels from behind your back. This is again, there's a terminology that we'll also be talking about later on, that's called a blind spot. For a company, when you're driving a car, you fully understand what a blind spot means. That when you're driving, you've got the rear view mirror, you've got three mirrors potentially that you could be looking at the cars behind, so you would know what's happening behind you. But there are spots where a car could be, and you would not be able to see it. which means and that spot usually is for a car that's really close to you. So that's really the level of competition that we must all be expecting to happen, disruption to happen. But if we are not aware of our blind spot, then we may not be able to see it. So again, competition in the marketplace. If a product does not compete well, then we are at a disadvantage. So again, we are trying to highlight some of the reasons why businesses fail. And if you think about the four reasons, the four categories that we have talked about already, plus the others that we're going to cover now, all, keep this thought at the back of the mind, what we just presented on the previous slide, that who holds the ultimate responsibility of this. It's not something that happens from the outside. If it's really truly a lack of vision and a lack of execution. So for every category that we are talking about, for every sub item that you could potentially come up with within that category, the ultimate solution lies with the company's vision. In a way, the extension of by vision, we mean the company's with determination to address that, to identify that as the root cause that has to be addressed, and then the execution plan. So your solutions, they must be geared around all around execution. Let's keep going. The lack of focus on quality. You may have the best product, the best service, the best utilization, the best user experience, the best in everything. You might have the best marketing message. And yet, when the customers acquire your product, when they start using it, whether it fails all the time or a large percentage of the time, which hugely inconveniences your customers. So obviously, we have mentioned this earlier that this not only is a matter of inconvenience, it's also is a huge hit to your brand, to the reputation and prestige of your organization. If a customer has got a mission critical project and they really need something, and the thing has to work and work well and it needs to work tonight for what they want to produce tomorrow, maybe they will not come to you if your product is not ultimately reliable. So reliability is extremely important, and quality is obviously a strong determinant of your customer engagement and customer satisfaction. Let's keep going. Your sales and channel management. Your salespeople, they are really the face of your organization. The entire company is hidden behind the faces of your sales executives, sales team. They are the ones who are interacting with the customers. They are the ones who are sharing the bells and whistles, the features, the how the product works, and their level of preparedness, their level of training, their excitement, all of that, it reflects and it really shows. So on how the customers would ultimately achieve will look at your product. How well qualified are they? How well trained they are? How much of information have you shared with them? How much do they know about your roadmap? How much do they know about the competitor, so they're able to speak intelligently and eloquently about all the good features about your product? What are the channels that you're selling your products in? And again, the same thing what we just mentioned about salespeople, that applies to the entire channel as well. If your product is being sold in different stores, how well do the store employees, how well do the store management know about your product? What flyers have you provided them? Have you given them any training material? What information should they have to be able to fully understand how well your product is, how well it works, how well it stands out against the competition? So when a customer stands in front of them and says, and ask them for advice, they should be able to give them the right advice. So a failure to really be focused in this area, and remember, this is an area that's really at the front and center of our operation as far as the clients are concerned. So this does require very heavy level of focus. Let's keep going. Inconsistent branding, ineffective branding. Sometimes we've got a high slew of messages, and sometimes we don't. If customers want to engage with us and we don't respond, and there are bad reports about our company, whether valid or invalid, we don't respond, we don't react to those. The brand value, the brand prestige starts slipping, and we don't seem to care about that. These are all ineffective branding that companies, just because they're really focusing on the day to day on the operational stuff, unless they've got dedicated team of people who are really focused in these areas, this for a startup it usually is the last thing on the radars. Again, the challenge is this is what where someone is looking at when they're first coming to you. If you got a bad message out there and you don't address that, the next potential customer who might be about to open the door and step in, they might have a second thought. Someone who might be looking to buy your product coming to your website, but just before the checkout, if they go and check out your reputation and they come across a few negative mentions, they may not end up coming to you. So again, huge impact if you don't stay focused in this area. Let's keep going. Businesses fail, point number 8 here, when they have problems with people. People would be employees, vendors, partners, your consulting partners, the media. It could be all kinds of people. So somehow we're not addressing what their needs are. We don't addressing what they're looking for, and we're not just not giving them the right tools and the right solutions that they're seeking. Okay, let's keep going. External factors, factors which are within our control. Imagine having a store where there's going to be construction. We already know that for the next that it starts in about a month, and there will be a partial traffic blockage for the next 2 months after that. As long as we are aware of that, even though it's sort of beyond our direct control, there's nothing we can do about that to prevent that from happening. But the fact that we are aware of that, we can probably do something about that. We can maybe inform our customers, maybe increase, change our store timing, maybe offer a pickup and drop off and delivery service, so then they don't have to go through the inconvenience of having to come to the store during while the construction is going on. There's a lot we could do as long as we are proactive and as long as we really want to address something or to mitigate something. What about external factors which are out of control? That could happen, right? Companies could fail because of that as well. Even though we acknowledge the fact that what could happen could have a substantial impact on your operation, but in a way, when we start focusing on all the lessons of crisis management, we have mentioned this throughout our presentations, that the whole notion of crisis management is about being prepared. It's about being always having the signs out, so you can see what's happening at miles ahead of you, so you know that if some signs start missing, so you're prepared for those. One example that we gave to our clients is, if your server crashed at noon on Tuesday, it it may have crashed at noon on Tuesday, but the steps toward the crash happened probably several days in advance. When memory leaks began to happen, when processes began to run and not complete, when other things, modules began to not function well, and finally it resulted to a point where things just came to a halt and the server crashed Tuesday at noon. So if you had the early signs out, to look at the logs, and people are individually, manually, or through some automated processes, the logs are being monitored, so we can look at the system performance and look at the red flags that something is happening, and this is not the expected performance, and we need to be taking a close look at that. If you do that, then you can potentially prevent some of the major disasters. Yes, so again, external factors could cause the downfall of a company, and that could be a very unfortunate reality. But if we are prepared, we at least give ourselves a fighting chance. Okay, let's keep going.